Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. In this tutorial, we will be knowing about a shortened background attribute that we will be using into our project to place an image as the background of a div element. Stay tuned. Now, as we can see that this is just a demo project here where we had used a background shortened property to place this image as the background of this individual div class here, and this is the exact same thing that we'll be doing into our project. Now in doing so, the first thing that we did, we will be creating a div class background testing. There it goes. So we had created a div here which is known as background testing, and on the other hand, in our root folder directory where we had actually placed all the components of our project, there we had practically created this individual directory known as images, and inside this images directory we had placed some of the images those we'll be using while proceeding into our project. So this is the essential thing that we need to do in the first place, as we had told you previously in some of our previous tutorials, that whenever you are trying to build up your own project, always try to segregate your components into multiple directories. Like as we say that if you are using some images, then there should be a separate folder which is known as images folder or image folder. You should be placing all of your CSS components into a different root directory. You should be placing all of your JS or JavaScript applications into a definite folder which is known as JS or something like that. So the point is, always try to segregate all the like components of your projects into a separate folder. This is the first thing that I would like to say here, and this is exactly what we had done here. We had practically created an images folder, as we can see, and we had placed all of these images those we are about to use into our project. Now if we head back to our text editor, this is the class which is being used by this div component here, and we'll be copying this class name. We will be heading back to style.css, and here, always mention the class name first with a dot. And now inside, all we are going to do, first of all, let's customize our div element right over here. So the width, we will be providing a width of 90% of this document, and initially we will be using a height attribute here of for say 500 pixels or for say 300 pixels, whatever it is. But always remember that whenever we are using a height attribute, we are practically binding our div element into a definite height. So instead of putting any height attribute over there, I would rather like to suggest you to use something like this padding property in the latter case. But first of all, we'll be using this height attribute here, and let's put some margin bottom like for say 3 rem. Press Ctrl S, head back to your project and reload. And in the initial stage, we won't be able to observe anything right over here, as we hadn't mentioned any kind of background properties. So this is what we need to specify in the next case. And in this particular case, if we wish to use an image as the background of this div element, then in our previous cases we had seen that we had a need of this background image where we need to specify a particular URL. In the next case, we needed to mention background repeat condition. So in this particular case, we had to mention whether these images will be repeated or it won't be repeating itself. The direction of this image repetition, we need to mention something like this background repeat. Then we need to mention the background image position. So as we can see that in this particular case already we had made usage of three definite attributes already into our project. But what if we use some kind of shortened background properties in which we may specify the image URL, then we may specify this background repeat or no repeat condition, and the exact background position where or from which part the background should be shown to the user first. So this is why we will be using a definite shortened property here, which is known as background, and here in the first case we will be using this URL right over here. And as we know that while specifying the URL of a definite image source, all we need to do, we need to copy folder name. The folder name is images. So this is what we need to copy in the first case. Place it right over here. Next comes the image itself, the image name and the type of the image, whether it is a JPEG file or it is a PNG file or whatever it is, we need to mention it right over there. So in the next case, we will be using the image name here, like we'll be using this foxsmall.png image. We are copying the file name along with this extension name, and we will be pasting it right over here. So we can see that this is the foxsmall.png image that we'll be using into our project. Now if we press Ctrl S and head back to our project and reload, we won't see anything right over here. Why so? This is due to the fact if we just click on this, right click on this document, and if you inspect the element, there it goes. Now we can see that there comes the background as the URL and the file name and the folder name. All of them are practically being present right over here, but we can see on the other hand that there comes the message which says clearly that could not load the image. So the point is we are practically missing our URL right over here. In that particular case, all we need to do, we have to use this double dot in front, then followed by this slash, press Ctrl S, head back to our project, and now reload. And now we can see that the image is present right over here. There is practically a single image, but as we haven't mentioned whether the image should be repeating or not, that is why the default case is repeat. So this image is in actuality being repeated along with the width of this individual div element, as we can see right over here.